My name is Emma Sinclair. I'm 29 years old, and until last year, I thought I knew what heartbreak felt like. The kind you cry through in sweatpants, with ice cream and sad movies. But that wasn't heartbreak. That was just the prelude. Because real heartbreak, it's not loud. It's quiet. It's watching people you love look at you like you're someone else. It's realizing your truth has been twisted so thoroughly that even you start to doubt it. It's screaming without sound because no one wants to hear your side. Before I dive into it all, let me just say this. If you've ever had someone twist your words, rewrite your story, and then convince the world you were the problem, please like this video and subscribe. You're not alone, I promise. And this story is living proof. I didn't even cry the day we broke up. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I felt nothing at all. It was like someone had taken all the air out of the room inside me, leaving only an empty shell. Ryan looked me dead in the eyes. Calm, cold, like a judge delivering a verdict, and said, "You're too much, Emma. Always needing, always feeling. I can't breathe around you." It wasn't just a breakup. It was a diagnosis, a label, a way to reduce everything I was, all the love, all the care, into a defect, a burden. I wanted to scream, to tell him that feeling deeply wasn't a crime, that wanting to be loved wasn't too much. But I didn't. Instead, I nodded, swallowed the lump in my throat, and let him walk away. I tried to move on. I boxed up our pictures, deleted his number, blocked him on social media. I told my friends I was okay, that I was strong. The truth was, I was shattered, but I couldn't let anyone see that. Not yet. But what hurt most wasn't losing him. It was losing myself. Because the day after we broke up, the whispers started. It began with a text from a concerned friend. "Hey, are you okay? People are saying you're struggling." I thought maybe it was just sympathy, so I brushed it off. Then came another message. "Ryan's worried about you. Says you're not coping well." I wanted to believe they were just looking out for me. But soon the whispers became louder, darker. "Heard you followed him home the other night. Someone said you broke into his apartment. I don't know if she's stable. You always seemed a little obsessed." None of it was true. But in a world that prefers easy stories, lies told with confidence become truth. Rumors spread faster than facts, and suddenly, I was the villain of my own life. Friends stopped returning calls. Colleagues gave me sideways glances in meetings. Family members asked questions with hesitant eyes, as if they doubted me too. I was isolated, invisible, and worse, erased. I wasn't just heartbroken. I was disappearing, replaced by the version of me Ryan wanted everyone to believe in. The crazy ex, the unstable girl, the one who couldn't let go. Every time I tried to speak up, the room grew colder. Every denial felt like fuel to the fire. It was as if my words bounced off a wall of doubt and came back as accusations. I wanted to scream, to shout my truth so loud that it would drown out the lies. But all I could do was breathe, survive, and wait for my chance to be heard. Because this story wasn't over. Not by a long shot. You never really notice your social life until it disappears. At first, I told myself I was just imagining things. People get busy. People pull away. It happens. But slowly, the pattern became undeniable. Invitations stopped showing up. Group chats stayed silent. Coffee catch-ups that used to happen weekly suddenly turned into Let's reschedule. Always with a smiley face. Always vague. I remember one specific Saturday. There was this birthday brunch for Sarah. One of those bottomless mimosa Instagram story, all girls kind of events. We used to plan those things together. I checked my messages 3 times, thinking maybe I'd missed the invite. Nothing. Later. That day, I saw the photos, the glittery outfits, the clinking glasses. Ryan was there. Of course he was. And so was everyone else. Everyone except me. I felt something crack inside me. Not jealousy, betrayal. These were people I had confided in, people who had seen me with Ryan, laughed with us, danced with us. People I had supported through their own breakups and messy dramas. And now, they believed him. They believed I was the unhinged one. The one who couldn't let go. The one they needed to distance themselves from for a while. And the worst part? No one ever said it to my face. Instead, it was in the way they looked at me. When they did look at me. A quick glance at the grocery store, followed by an awkward smile and a hasty exit. A coworker who used to eat lunch with me suddenly switching desks, saying, "I just needed a change of view." A family friend, who once called me the best thing that ever happened to Ryan, left a comment on his engagement post. "So happy you found someone calm and stable. You deserve peace. Calm and stable." I read that line over and over. It felt like a knife wrapped in politeness. It wasn't just my social life that was dying. It was my identity. Every time someone chose his version over mine, I felt myself shrinking. I started doubting my own memory. Had I really been too intense? Was I overbearing? Did I misread everything? That kind of doubt eats at you. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It makes you apologize when you've done nothing wrong. It makes you isolate yourself because you assume you're the problem. One afternoon, I got a message from my cousin Anna. She was always kind, always neutral. She wrote, "Hey, I know things ended badly between you and Ryan. I don't want to take sides, but I think maybe you should talk to someone. He said he's worried about you." That's when I realized he wasn't just rewriting the story. He was casting himself as the hero, the concerned ex, the one who tried his best with the emotionally unstable girlfriend. He didn't need to convince everyone with facts, just with tone, just with repetition. He played the long game, and I didn't even know I was in one. At work, I overheard 2 colleagues talking. They lowered their voices when I walked by, but I caught a phrase that burned itself into my brain. "It's a shame. She used to be so sharp." I guess breakups hit people differently. I didn't confront them. What would I even say? Actually, the only thing hitting me is your condescension. I swallowed it like I did everything else. There were days I didn't leave the house. Days I stayed in bed, watching shows I didn't even like, just to make the time pass faster. Days where brushing my teeth felt like a small victory. I journaled a lot. Mostly incoherent thoughts, some angry, some sad. But one entry sticks with me. It said, "I miss who I was before he convinced everyone I was someone else. I missed being Emma. Not the crazy ex Emma. Not the emotionally fragile Emma. Just me. The one who used to laugh loudly, cry openly, and feel deeply without shame. The one who thought love was messy but worth it. The one who believed people would stand by you when things got hard. But when the world turns its back on you, you start walking backward, hoping maybe, just maybe, you can find the moment it all went wrong and fix it. Spoiler: you can't. But what you can do is stop playing the role someone else cast for you. And that's what I was about to learn. Because when the world has written, "You off, there's only one thing left to do, write yourself back in," I never thought I'd go back there. To dig up the past, to sift through the rubble of a relationship I desperately wanted to forget. But one night, after a fight with a friend who'd believed Ryan's lies without question, something inside me snapped. I was furious, not just at Ryan, but at myself for letting his version of the story bury mine so completely. So I did the only thing I could. I went searching for the truth. The proof that Ryan hoped I'd thrown away, lost, or destroyed. I opened the old photo albums first. Pictures of us smiling on trips, holding hands, laughing in the rain. But then I started scrolling through my phone, and that's when the real story began to reveal itself. There were messages I'd saved, buried deep in folders labeled Keep, texts where Ryan promised he loved me, but then weeks later admitted to lies I hadn't known about. Screenshots of conversations with his exes, where he'd whispered secrets and broken promises. Then there were voice notes I'd never meant to listen to again, recordings of him gaslighting me, telling me I was too sensitive, that I was remembering things wrong, that none of it was as bad as I thought. At first, I felt a wave of nausea. How had I been so blind? How had I let someone twist my reality so thoroughly? But beneath that pain was something else. Clarity. A cold, sharp clarity that cut through years of confusion and self-doubt. This wasn't just a breakup. This was manipulation, betrayal, emotional warfare disguised as love. And now I had the evidence. I started saving everything. Photos, screenshots, voice memos, even old emails. I backed them up on my laptop, made copies on flash drives, printed out the most damning texts. I created a timeline, a map of lies and half-truths that painted the real Ryan. It wasn't easy. Going through all of it reopened wounds I thought were healing. But I also felt stronger, more in control than I had in months. Because for the first time since the breakup, I wasn't just a victim, I was a witness. And I was ready to testify, not just to the world, but to myself. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't obsessed. I was hurt, yes, but I was also smart enough to see the truth. And now, I had proof. Proof I never meant to keep. It was almost surreal when I found out Ryan was getting engaged. Lauren, a name I'd heard a few times, someone from our circle of friends, someone I'd met once or twice, but never really knew. At first, I couldn't believe it. Ryan? Settling, down, committing? After everything he put me through, it felt like a cruel joke. But the more I thought about Lauren, the more a knot formed in my stomach. She didn't know. She had no idea who Ryan really was. The man behind the charming smile and carefully crafted stories. I imagined her, smiling, planning a future with him, believing in a man who was nothing like the Ryan I'd loved, or thought I had loved. She deserved to know the truth. She deserved protection from the pain I'd felt. But how? I wasn't some hero with all the answers. I was just a woman fighting to reclaim her life. And while I had proof, I didn't know the right way to use it. I worried about coming off as bitter or vindictive. I didn't want to ruin Lauren's life without cause, but I couldn't let her walk blindly into a marriage built on lies. So I kept gathering evidence. More photos, more screenshots, more voice notes. I pieced together moments where Ryan's mask slipped, late-night calls to other women, messages filled with promises he never intended to keep, his attempts to make me doubt myself even when the truth was staring me in the face. Every discovery hardened my resolve. I wasn't going to let him rewrite history again. This time the story would be told, fully and honestly. And maybe, just maybe, I could stop him before he hurt someone. Else, it was just another ordinary day. Or so I thought. I was scrolling through my phone when a message popped up from an old mutual friend, Jessica. We hadn't talked in months, just the occasional like or comment on social media. But this time, the message wasn't meant for me. Jessica had accidentally sent me a photo. It was a crisp, elegant invitation, white card with gold lettering, and it said it all. Ryan's engagement party. The date, the venue, the guest list, everything I wasn't supposed to know. For a moment, my heart stopped. I stared at that. Invite like it was a secret message from some other universe. A place where my life and Ryan's intersected again in ways I never expected. Lauren. That was the name on the invite. The woman Ryan was about to marry. The woman who had no idea about the version of him I knew. The manipulator, the liar, the man who had tried to erase me from his story. That invitation was more than just paper. It was a call to action. Suddenly, the helplessness I'd felt for months shifted into something else. Determination. If Ryan wanted to rewrite our story and hide behind his perfect new life, then maybe it was time to show the world the truth he was so desperate to keep buried. But I couldn't just walk into that party and start shouting. No, this had to be done right, carefully, secretly, with all the proof I had gathered over months, the texts, the photos, the voice notes where his mask slipped. I spent days planning. I bought a small microphone, discreet enough to record without raising suspicion. I loaded a USB drive with everything. Conversations that showed his betrayals, recordings of his manipulation, screenshots where his lies were clear as day. Every night, I rehearsed what I would say, how I would keep my calm, how I would demand to be heard, not as the crazy ex, but as the woman who had been silenced for too long. And through it all, I kept it a secret from everyone. My closest friends didn't know. My family didn't know. Because if word got out, Ryan would catch wind of it and try to stop me. That invitation was my moment. My chance to step back into the story. Not as a victim, but as someone who refused to be erased. The countdown began. The night of the engagement party arrived like a storm. I was both terrified and ready to face. I stood outside the venue, taking a deep breath. The place was stunning. Soft lights, elegant decorations, laughter spilling out through open windows. Inside, everyone was dressed to impress, sipping champagne, exchanging smiles that felt rehearsed, fake. I checked my small microphone hidden beneath my blouse, the USB drive secure in my pocket. This wasn't just a party. This was my stage. As I stepped inside, eyes flicked toward me, curious, surprised, some suspicious. Ryan? He hadn't noticed me yet. Maybe he thought I'd never show up. Maybe he believed his story had buried me, for good. When the time came for the toast, the room hushed. Ryan raised his glass, the usual smarmy grin plastered on his face. That's when I stood up. "Wait," I said, voice steady but loud enough to reach every corner. "I have something to show you all." Confused murmurs followed as I connected the USB to the TV screen. The video began playing. Texts flashed up. His lies, his betrayals, the manipulation he'd tried to keep secret. Voice notes where he twisted words, gaslit me, blamed me. Photos that told a truth completely different from the one he'd painted, for everyone here. The room fell silent. Lauren's face drained of color. Ryan's smug expression faltered. Guests who once looked at me with pity or suspicion now stared in shock, some whispering apologies, others wide-eyed and speechless. For the first time in months, I wasn't invisible. I didn't shout. I didn't beg. I simply let the truth speak for itself. When the video ended, I looked around, meeting eyes that now saw me clearly. This was my moment. Not of revenge, but of reclaiming who I was. The silence after the video felt heavier than any noise I'd heard before. Ryan's face twisted with anger and disbelief. He tried to speak, to deny, to spin his lies once more. But the room wasn't listening. The evidence was too clear, too damning. Lauren stood frozen, her eyes wide with shock and betrayal. The woman who once smiled beside him now looked at him like she saw a stranger. I could see the questions swirling behind her gaze. Who is he really? What else has he hidden from me? Guests shifted uncomfortably, whispers spreading like wildfire. Some who had believed Ryan's story approached me quietly, offering apologies. Others averted their eyes, unsure what to say. For the first time, the truth was breaking through the walls of lies. I felt the weight lift just a little, but it wasn't over. I knew this moment would change everything. For Ryan, for Lauren, for me. The fight for my story was just beginning. After the fallout, the silence that followed was different. It wasn't the heavy, suffocating quiet of being erased. It was the calm that comes when you finally reclaim your voice. I started sharing my story online, carefully, honestly, and with all the evidence I had collected. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my truth, helping others who might be trapped in similar webs of lies and manipulation. Messages poured in. Women who had been gaslighted, shamed, or silenced reached out, thanking me for speaking up. They told me their stories, their fears, their hopes. For the first time in a long while, I didn't feel alone. Ryan's version of me was shattered. But more importantly, I was no longer defined by his narrative. I was Emma Sinclair, complex, flawed, strong, and real. And this was just the beginning. Because when you take back your story, you don't just heal yourself. You light the way for others to do the same. People sometimes ask if I'd do it all again. If I could go back, would I still crash that party? Would I still hit play on that video? The answer is yes, without a doubt. Not because I enjoyed ruining a picture-perfect moment, but because that moment was never real. It was built on lies, stitched together with denial and silence. Lies that had my name on them. That night, I didn't burn a bridge. I lit my own path, and every step I've taken since has been mine. Louder, clearer, and finally true.